Pastor John from Cartoon Church. Today the sun feels like a blessing, inviting us to explore the wonders of faith and the universe within. Let's embark on a journey together, dive deep into the ocean of wisdom and truth. We are all, in essence, students of the mysterious, forever seeking guidance from the divine. As we navigate the waves of synchronicity, those meaningful coincidences, we tap into the boundless sea of consciousness that unites everything. To calibrate our hearts with the power of faith, let's start with a familiar verse. Matthew 17:20. If you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move. Nothing will be impossible for you. Faith is like catching that perfect wave. Doctor of Ministry John Jewell, that's Daddy, was a pioneer of Jungian philosophy. It was Carl Jung who introduced us to the concept of synchronicity and meaningful coincidence, describing those meaningful coincidences that seem to defy explanation as signs and wonders. John Jewell himself had one such meaningful experience when working as a techie at the main office of IBM. One night there was a shutdown of a main computer bank, and every techie in the office was going nuts until they were finally sent home after a tireless investigation. Jewell, my dad, woke up from a dream and drove straight to the office and went to the faulty hardware, flipped some switch and lit it up. Power came back on, and the next day everyone was hellaciously blessed. Nikola Tesla used to envision his inventions before ever realizing a material version. And after that epiphany, Daddy went into pastoral ministry. But he leaves us with a gem of instruction on how to tackle similar challenges in his book Wired, the ISBN 10-158-74-30754. Remind me, this is what it says in the cover. As if ministry wasn't challenging enough, today's pastors must also navigate the bewildering seas of the digital age and AI. But what technologies are right for your church, and how would you choose to use them? Wired for Ministry offers practical strategies for integrating technology and ministry while keeping a watchful eye on potential technological pitfalls, remembering that technology is the medium and not the message. Dr. Jewell discusses specific ways that tools such as the internet, digital video, music can enhance youth groups, worship services, educational ministries, and even evangelism. Pastors, Christian educators, youth leaders, Sunday school teachers will rely on this useful guide. Jewell's wise introduction to the process of bringing technology into the ministry will be indispensable for Christian leaders and lay techies like me. Now, just like the old saying goes, like father, like son, our fathers before us also used technology in biblical times. Although different from our modern understanding, it played a significant role in shaping the cultures and societies familiar to us in the scriptures. Remember? Plowing and sowing, stone tablets and scrolls. The 10 Commandments were inscribed on stone tablets, and many biblical texts were written on scrolls made of parchment or papyrus. The invention of alphabetic writing systems, the development of Hebrew, and other writing systems allowed for the recording of laws, genealogies, and religious texts. Without these tools, we wouldn't know where to begin or where we're going. Am I right? Imagine, you're surfing on a drab day. The ocean's as flat as it can be, almost a mirror to the stars, and suddenly, like a shot in the dark, a perfect wave appears just as you need it. Well, that's synchronicity, my friends. It's a reminder that there's a greater force at work, guiding us and connecting our inner experiences with the outer world. Although there's no material evidence for those who deliberately seek a sign, remember what Matthew 16:4 tells us. An evil and adulterous generation seeks for a sign, but no sign will be given to it except the sign of Jonah. Whoa. None shall be given? Whoa, that's pretty gnarly cheese to cut there, eh? Because only through faith can we find the path to eternity. It does not rely on material evidence or ephemeral occurrences. But if you believe that Jesus lives, then by faith every meaningful coincidence will bring you a deep connection to the universe's vast and the macro-micro universe. I want to share a personal story with you. Recently, I found myself in front of the Crystal Cathedral, feeling a profound sense of connection. I was testing my faith, and I decided to try to step out onto the little pool in front of this magnificent palace and moonwalk back onto the plank. It was as if I was lifted, much like the sensation of catching a gnarly swell. This experience reminded me of the power of faith and the presence of a higher consciousness that we can tap into. Oxymoronically, as I levitated, I was mortified and yet elated. I can't explain the feeling that I got when I put my right leg out and I was pedaling my right leg back onto the plank while lifting my left leg out above the little pond and then back and returned square onto the plank. Whoa! I was feeling like I was floating for just a miraculous time within time. I knew I had taken a very profound step of faith, even by trying this metaphysical experiment. Now, a Latter-day Saint friend of mine, known for interesting speculations, suggested that perhaps the entire Earth moved in a gravitational wave beneath me in such a way that I levitated in the right moment and had synchronized my steps with the gravitational wave of the Earth, and both the Earth and myself swayed into the same spot, making this a meaningful coincidence. The synchronicity of landing back on the plank may also have a metaphysical explanation, so I agreed with her. It's a very interesting concept that further illustrates the interconnectedness of our experiences with the divine. So, on the night this sermon was constructed, speaking of personal encounters with the divine, I walked into the moonlight. I saw the Big Dipper pouring out its blessings. As I watched, suddenly a sharp, pointed constellation, it was the Sword of Orion, appeared parallel to the Big Dipper, as if the heavens were aligning to reveal a divine message. An answer to a prayer. I had nothing to say this week, and suddenly it reminds me of specifically the book of Job. Orion is mentioned as a testament to God's power and wisdom. Job 9:9 says, "He is the maker of the Bear and Orion, the Pleiades and the constellations of the south." Job 38:31 adds to it, "Can you bind the chains of Pleiades or loosen Orion's belt?" These verses remind us that the heavens are a canvas of divine artistry. Well, that night, having been flashed with the presence of Orion's sword, it seemed as if this week's message was loosening out of the catacombs of a stiff and stubborn mind, as if the cosmos themselves were orchestrating a sign and a wonder and a powerful reminder for Pastor John of Cartoon Church that divine presence exists in our lives today, and it's guiding us and illuminating our path. So as I stood there under the vast tapestry of the stars in the heavens, as I stood there under the vast sky, I felt an overwhelming sense of synchronicity. It was a moment of clarity and meaningful coincidence, reinforcing my faith and connecting me deeply to the universe's vastness and the spirit of the divine. The vision of the Sword of Orion was not just a random occurrence, it was a divine sign. I believe that it was crafted by God to guide me in this week's message, as if God was speaking through the stars, reminding us of His presence and the boundless love that surrounds us. Now, just as Orion's sword appeared to me in a sign, let us open our hearts and our minds to the signs and wonders around us today. Through faith, we can see the divine in the everyday and recognize the message that the universe is eager to share. As I will soon be going back to Southern California for school to begin astrology courses and, of course, more animation and media design, I will remember that the sword points to more awesome and gnarly messages coming from the Lord under the sign of the bear when we get there. So be sure to subscribe, like, and comment as the time to go is upon us all. Go read Acts 17:28. For in Him we live and move and have our being. As some of your own poets have said, we are His offspring. Well, this week's new hymn is all in all a gift from God and all about the angelic constellation Orion. The title is Your Word, My Sword, with Pastor John and Cartoon Church.
Good morning, everyone. Eyes up to the stars, your belt, your sword. Feel your word, I love you, Lord. Your word, I love you, Lord. Oh, I love you. In the darkest night, you are my guide. Your light, your might. Push me to the side, steer me clear from sin's wild ride. Always by you I will abide. Your word, your sword, my saving grace. Your love, your power, my hiding place. In the silence, I feel your embrace. Ooh, I love you. When the world is cold, you keep me warm. In your shelter, I brace the storm. In your word, I find my norm. Your love divine in every form. Your word, your sword, my saving grace. Your love, your power, my hiding place. In the silence, I feel your embrace. Oh, I love you. When the world is cold, you keep me warm. In your shelter, I brace the storm. In your word, I find my norm. Your love divine in every form. High and low, you never stray. In your light, I find my way. No darkness can lead me astray. Forever in your love I lay. Your word, your sword, my saving grace. Your love, your power, my hiding place. In the silence, I feel your embrace. I love you. Oh, I love you.
Last week I mentioned the Talpiot tomb, which is a relic of our age and must be considered the best as far as historical records of the family of Jesus and what happened. Now, most scholars remain unconvinced in the Talpiot tomb or the book of Revelation. It's in the Bible because of its esoteric nature. But I see the Jesus family in this passage because the woman, who most believe represents a great prostitute, whenever they hear the word woman, maybe, Jesus, they can never accept that Jesus was married, and the woman wrapped in the sun represents a riddle. It is a wedding invitation, and the woman is the bringer of life, of new sons of God, Jesus and the brides of the 12 apostles, who will usher all of humanity at the end of the ages into the realms of heavenly glory, when man and woman will be reborn and save all souls left to be saved, even bringing the living into glory without ever knowing the first death. For if we have bodies such as these on earth, then surely they are temporary and serve one purpose: to fulfill God's work, to help God build his kingdom on earth as in heaven. And the signs from Revelation to heaven symbolize the great joy and glory of a new celestial and perfect body that we receive in the dispensation of ages, until the new bodies synchronize with new earth and new bodies are returned to worlds intended for mortals, worlds mature enough, evolved enough for God to once again populate them with his own image. Revelation 12:1. A great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and a crown of 12 stars on her head. Under her feet is the perfume of the Lord. And just for reference, let us remember that God made us in his own image. Genesis 1:27. This is a confirmation that the vision in the book of Revelation is a sign of the wondrous wedding between Jesus, Mary Magdalene, the 12, the sons and daughters of God, and that Jesus has made the resurrection promise that God made all of us in his image. The Jesus family message, the real role that Mary Magdalene had on the apostles in the church, can be gleaned by reading this verse in Revelations. I can't unsee it. This furthers the Jesus family message and the real role that Mary and Jesus had on the apostles and the church. Now, as we go forth from this place, may we carry with us the profound truth that we are made in God's own image, as it's written in Genesis 1:27. Let us build his kingdom on earth as it is in heaven, embracing the signs from Revelation that symbolize the great joy and glory of a new celestial and perfect body we receive in the dispensation of ages. Revelation 12:1 reminds us, a great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and a crown of 12 stars on her head. This vision is a sign of the wondrous wedding between Jesus and Mary, the 12, and the resurrection promise that he is, and made them, him and her, the same as himself. May we find inspiration in the message of the Jesus family and the real role that Mary Magdalene had on the apostles and the church today. As we await the synchronization of new bodies with the new earth, let us rejoice in the promise that worlds mature enough for God to once again populate them with his image will be fulfilled as prophecy predicted. Go in peace with faith and courage, embrace the divine synchronicities in your life, and build his kingdom with love and grace. Amen? Amen.